Hi, my name is Geert Van Gele. I would like to talk about the interpretation of English Baroque music. This video is part of a series which accompany the iBook Thoughts on the Recorder, which is available through my webshop kettenbergrecordings.pe. You can find a link in the description. I've also included a clickable link at the end of this video if you want to learn more about it. Even though a lot of French and Italian influences can be found in the English repertoire of the Restoration period, a typical English style can be distinguished with composers like Locke, Laws, Jenkins and other contemporaries. When playing through these scores, the music may seem awkward, difficult to grasp. It's only when one studies the scores further that a rich and beautiful world starts to appear. To me, this music simultaneously points to earlier and later periods in music history, while at the same time oozing a kind of melancholy that may very well have its roots in the turmoil resulting from the Commonwealth period. Indeed, this repertoire has so many polyphonic ideas combined that at times one can imagine this music to be written some 100 years earlier. At the same time, a unique sense of harmony is being applied to hauntingly beautiful melodies that again could have been written some 100 years later. In all, this repertoire is so different from the other styles that it deserves special attention. Now, at the English court, French was the court language. An interesting question could be to which extent this repertoire should be played in a French manner. French was definitely big in those days in England, but to which extent was it being spoken outside of the court, especially since there were no court musicians anymore during the Commonwealth? When playing this repertoire, I somehow don't find that this music suits itself completely for French interpretation. Yes, the suite has a lot of French forms, but it lacks the clear French homophony. It lacks the French language pulse, which so clearly defines French repertoire. In terms of ornaments, to my ear, the ornaments used in keyboard literature from the Renaissance English period seem to work best. This means mordents going down, single slash notated in Renaissance notation, and trills going up but starting on the main note with a double slash in Renaissance notation. Nicolas Matthijs, who worked in England during the Restoration period and who has an incredible amount of beautiful music composed for the violin, which is easily adaptable for the recorder, by the way, he uses exactly these Renaissance notations of slash and double slash. I do want to repeat here that the interpretation of the slash and the double slash are my interpretations. To my knowledge, there is still ambiguity about how to interpret these signs. The English suite from this period has some remarkable qualities which are different from the French dances. It is worth mentioning that these dances were composed with the dance forms in mind, but at this time this music was not meant for dancing to. Fantasy, or sometimes called fancy. A fantasy is often a first movement of a suite. Similar to the Italian fantasia, it's a composition built upon a beginning theme, which evolves, grows in a way like a dream. It glides from one thought into the another. The fantasy gives the most freedom to the composer, not being tied down to a strict form. Pavane. The pavane is also often used as a first dance movement in the suite. It's traditionally a slow opening dance where couples present themselves on the dance floor. In Renaissance period, this dance was always followed by a galliard, but in the English Restoration period, this is not necessary. The pavane always has the underlying rhythm, pam, pa, pa, pam, pa, pa, pam, pa, pa, pam. So this you can always find back in this music. Air. The air was meant to give the dancers a break, a breath of air, so to speak. Strictly instrumental, these often have a light character when positioned after a slow movement. Otherwise, they can have a more lyrical quality to them. Courante, a courant. The courant is still strictly French, which makes it the most complex dance of the whole suite. It doesn't need to be performed fast like the Italian corrente, but rather intricate with a lot of rhythm or pulse shifts, which illustrate the complexity of the dance. A jig. The jig is quite different from the French jig. The overall tempo is fast and with a brisk character. Sarabande. Again very different from the French sarabande. This dance is fast, often positioned at the end of a suite. Another large repertoire for the recorder, which dates from this period in English history, is the ground. A fixed amount of measures which the basso continuo keeps repeating while the melody improvises or extemporizes. For this repertoire, which is mostly known by recorder players from the division flute edition, I would advocate strongly to stick to an Italian interpretation. considering this repertoire, one realizes that the English were indeed able to incorporate Italian, French and even Renaissance style elements in their music in a way that no other country had done before. In this sense, the English were well ahead of their time, while seemingly being pretty conservative at first sight. That's it for now. If you follow the link, you can watch the next video on experimental contemporary music. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.